Okay, so today I'm going to walk you through creating a hinge joint in AutoCAD. This is a print in place hinge joint, meaning it's going to print all as one thing. And then when we remove it from the printer, we can take off some supports and it should, operate as one unit. So there would be no parts to put together. It prints together. So this is something that 3D printing enables that other types of manufacturing don't. And so in this unit, we'll go through a few different types of print in place situations. So first things first, you're going to want to go to box.com and download your template. Then you'll want to open that template and you want to be looking at it from a top-down view. You can start out in either 2D or 3D, and if we start in 2D, we'll switch to 3D. But for now, that should do it. And first thing you should do then is go up to your Save As button. Let's call this Hinge Joint. I think I already have one of those, so I'm going to call this Hinge Joint 2, since this is the second time I'm making this thing. So we'll go there. And you can start with your rectangle tool, start with your line tool. This is going to recreate a version of the yoke, and that's kind of what we'll do for our hinge. So spoiler alert, I'm going to go back to here, and it's going to end up looking sort of like this. So we've got the yoke, and we've got this hinge and this little, I just put a lever on here so there would be something to stop the motion as you go, but this is just kind of a generic idea to create the joint. So let's go with that. So I'm going to start out with my line tool. I'm going to start at 0, 0. And I'm going to go up to, let's see, I'm going to go up 1 inch. I'll turn my ortho on before I commit to that. 1 inch. We're going to go over 0.125 from there. There we go. 1 inch is a little smaller. So I'll zoom in. 0.125. Okay. Then we can go down 1 inch. From here, I'm going to go over 1 inch. Go up 0.125, making the walls of this an 1/8 inch thick. Then I use spacebar to stop drawing lines, and then I hit spacebar again so I can resume that tool. I'm going to go back up 1 inch over 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch, back down 1 inch, and close it off there. Hit spacebar to exit that. Then I can go ahead and join these as one group, or you could union them, but actually that's a 3D thing, so I'm going to wait. I'll go ahead and just extrude these, and I'm going to make them 1.5 inches tall. So I'll go to a southwest isometric view. Don't know what just happened there. And I see I have 10% of my battery remaining, so I'll keep an eye on that for a few steps here. Let's go ahead and region these shapes here. Bring them up in 3D. And then we will... Oh, I never made that line there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my line tool, and I'll close that shape off. And now I can region it. And I don't see it there, so I'm going to go up to X-ray, because in wireframe, you're just not going to know that you regioned it. So I see here, oops, it's wanting to do that. So I need to come back. I'll close that shape off. Now that can create some problems for you. You don't usually want to draw lines on top of lines, but right now it's a quick solution to the problem that I had of just not closing off my shapes. I suppose I could have trimmed those lines and made it one shape and just regened the whole thing. That's probably the more correct way to do it. But there's, in AutoCAD, there's always more than one way to skin a cat, which I don't know where that phrase came from and why they were skinning so many cats and coming up with different ways to do so. But, let's not look too much into it. All right, now I'm going to go to extrude. I can extrude all three at the same time and hit enter. And I want to go up 1.5 inches. Looks sort of ridiculous for now, and that's okay. Now I can go ahead and use union. And then my border lines there will go away. I still have a ghost line here from before. Why that's there. Don't delete it. Oh, that's the inside. That gets me every time. That's the hidden line that's behind here. It's not really there. So, okay, we are good to go. So now this looks really funky. But if you remember from the yoke, if you made the yoke, we are going to extrude a half circle on each side here. At least that's the way I'm going to do it here. So I will look at it. I might look at it this way. I'm going to do let's see if I can do it this way. I'm going to go to a center circle. I'm going to start there with the blue on this face. And I'm just going to draw up to the end point there. I can go to the opposite side, do the same thing, get my face, midpoint, and up to that end point there. Okay. I want to leave these circles be for now, because what I want to do is then, because this is 1.5 inches, I'm going to offset this because I'm going to make a hole in it. So I'm going to use offset to make that hole. So choose offset, and I'm going to type my distance. Let's go ahead and make it 0.75. And then I'm going to choose this. I really only need to do one of them. And I can't do that much. So let's go 0.5. Wouldn't let me offset to the inside that much. Oh, I think that'll work. That should work. Where did it go? Offset 0.5. Enter. Offset this line. And go right there and click. I think I hit enter when I should have clicked. Okay, that line is going to represent the hole that I will soon cut through here. I can go to trim and trim off this here. One thing that I may want to pay attention to is that I just offset that by 1/2 inch. So if that was a 1.5 inch radius, I offset it by 1/2 inch, that's actually going to, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a 1.5 inch diameter. So I offset it 1/2 inch. That actually is going to kind of make this circle only 1/2 inch in diameter. So this one right here, because of the nature of offset, there's an offset of 1/2 inch from here to here. That's why I couldn't do the 0.75, because I wasn't thinking of offsetting all the way through with a circle. So I offset over here 1/2 inch. It's also offset over here and every other place 1/2 inch. There's only so much room for it to go. So this leaves us with a 1/2 inch circle right here. I need to know that number because that's the number I need to draw another circle with here in a minute. So for now, I should be able to go to my trim tool. I should be able to trim off this guy. And if it won't let me, it really doesn't matter, and it's not letting me. So we can ignore trim. Let's region it, and it should go away after we region it and extrude it. So let's extrude this one. We want it to be the same wall thickness as these guys right here. I just pointed with my finger and you couldn't see that. So, now you can. We're going to go 0.125 because my wall thickness was 0.125. And looky there, it extruded the wrong way. So that's not too big of a problem. I can go to move, enter. I can choose pretty much anywhere in the center of the circle and move it with my ortho on, but actually it's snapping. Let's see here. It's snapping to there. I just basically need to move it 1/8 of an inch. And I just got a notification that my battery is going low. So let me pause here. All right, we're back. We're plugged in. And we're good to go. So now I'm going to region this side, the circle, and I'm going to extrude it. This time I'm going to try to play AutoCAD's game the way it wants to be played. So I'll extrude it. I'll click from this side, pull my mouse that way. 0.125 got me again. All right, you in AutoCAD. I'm going to move you again, and I'm going to go from here to here. With that ortho on, I should just be able to move it 0.125 because I'm just moving it one exact part of its size. So what do I need to do now? I need to go ahead and union these parts. So I'll union. I'm going to go with that, and that. I'm not doing anything with this inner circle just yet. There we go. You notice some lines here. We're going to use facet res toward the end to clean that up, round that over. You may still see something there, but it should look a little bit cleaner. So here's the next step. Now, it's almost like I'm making a paper towel roll holder, sort of, or a toilet paper roll holder. In fact, that is kind of what it looks like now that I'm really looking at it. Sorry for moving all around. Hopefully you didn't get motion sick. So what I've got here is this is going to be a hole. So I'm going to eventually here region this, and I'm going to go ahead and move that all the way through and remove material here and here. I'll probably try the push-pull tool and see if that gets the result I want. I think it will. Otherwise, I can extrude and subtract what I want to use, or what I don't want to use. Before I do that, I need to talk about whenever I'm making a part that's going to join together multiple pieces, you need to use what's called a clearance amount. And so the clearance amount that you give, the amount of space you allow for, will change depending on what type of a fit you want. Some people call it a 0.01 or a 1/100th of an inch fit. They call that a standard fit. So that would be, I don't know, it should be able to have a little wiggle room, but not much. And then there's a loose fit. Loose fit should allow your piece to pretty much, it's not going to move freely with no friction because, well, there's always friction, but it'll allow it to move a lot quicker, a lot easier with less resistance normally. So I think for this, because of the nature of it, I do want a loose fit. And loose doesn't mean it's going to fall out. It just means it will have a little bit of space. I want to do that for a couple reasons. One, I'm going to try to have Prusa Slicer include a little bit of supports in here because it's not going to be able to start my piece just yet. So there's that. And then also, if I do run into issues, maybe Prusa Slicer won't insert a support into something that small. In fact, I'm actually thinking it won't because that 0.02, I believe, is pretty, I mean, that's inches. talking about a difference of inches and millimeters, it's probably not going to have enough room, but we'll see when we get there. So for now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to offset this, but I'm not going to offset at 0.02. I'm going to offset at 0.01 inches because just like before, when I had that issue with my original offset, if you offset 0.02, you're going to have 0.02 over here. You have 0.02 over here. You're actually having a clearance of 0.04, and it will be really kind of ridiculously, it'll be rattling around in there. And that's just not going to be what you want. Okay, so we'll go to offset. We're going to go to our circle. I'm not going to click it yet because I can't, because I have to tell it to offset 0.01, enter. Now I'm going to offset that. Can't offset that object. Yes, I can. It just didn't realize I was selecting that circle. So you may need to zoom in or try more than once. So what I've got here is representing two different parts. The first one's going to be a hole. The second one's going to be the start of, let's call it, the toilet paper spindle. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead out of the offset. I'm going to region. And I'm going to region this circle, and it might fight me on it, but we will get it to do what we want. We want to go with you, circle. You right here. Oh, you got me again. You can also do, so instead of getting out of region, you can shift click. One thing you can also do is, there we go. With that clicked, I was able to click the circle. Then I can hold shift and click to remove the outer. Another trick sometimes is to come in and do like a green select box, select things, even things I don't want, and then deselect everything I actually don't want. So then you just get everything. It's just kind of a nice little way to make it do what you want it to do, because it doesn't always want to do that. All right, I talked earlier about using the press pull tool. And so I'm going to go over here to solid, and under solid, there are some options. It might be available here under modeling. That's press pull right there. So you can use it there. I don't know. I like it when it's right in front of me. So that's the one I'm going to use. I need to choose my regioned circle. And look at this. What I'm going to do, change my view a little bit. It's really giving me kind of a funky time here. With my view cube, I'm just going to make sure I'm going all the way through the other side. Click, and it should have put a hole all the way through. And actually, I think it even did me a favor. This was like a super happy accident. So here's what it did, gang. Let me look at it from the side. It extruded just the distance between those, and it left this piece right here, which I did want. I kind of thought that I was going to be removing this whole circle, regioning this circle, and then building my paper towel, toilet paper, or paper spindle from there. But push-pull only took away the difference, which, I didn't intend for that, but hey, we learn as we go sometimes. Now, the problem is I've got this is all one shape. So I may have an issue, and it might not be all fun and games right now because it's one shape. So let's see, can I select? Okay, I can select that. If I delete, let's see if I can select that. Okay. So I want this to be one whole thing. Can I also just draw a new circle here? Let's find out. So before I get into that, let's talk a little bit of math. So we had this offset. If everything works out there, great. If it doesn't, okay, we'll figure it out. But I also have to think about how it's going to fit here. Now this should be 1 inch, because that's what I designed this one box to be, 1 inch. One reason I kept them all to 1 inch is so that I wouldn't have to think too hard about it later. I realized the height I did make 1.5 inches, but that had to do with me adding the circle later. Okay, fine. So this is 1 inch, but we just talked about clearance. So we know that we need a clearance on these sides as well, because if this is 1 inch, it's going to be so tight in there that actually when it prints, it's going to print as one piece. If I leave just a tiny gap, it will allow it to spin, but it's going to have resistance because it's going to rub a lot. So I want to make sure that I have a little bit more of a clearance. So I'm actually going to do a 0.1 clearance on this side and a 0.1 clearance on this side, which will technically allow me, a 0.01. That'll technically allow me 0.02 overall clearance between the two. Okay. So what I need to know then, I'm going to eventually make a cylinder. It's going to be 1 inch. And it's going to be, let's see. Okay. So here's what I need to do. I need to extend this cylinder, which is good because I kind of wanted to do that anyway. I'm going to extend this cylinder out 0.01 past this. So that means it's already 0.125 thick. I add 0.01 to that, which means I'm going to extrude it 0.135. Okay. Then I need to have my 1 inch part, but I need to take off for the clearance that I'm allowing, which is 0.02. So I need 1 inch minus 0.02, which is going to be 0.98 inches. And I'm just saying that out loud. I'm writing the math on a piece of paper next to the computer, hoping I wrote it well enough that I remember that which number goes with which. Okay. So let's go over here. We've regioned that. Did we? We didn't. Let's go ahead and do it now. Kind of looks like it because when we subtracted, when we pulled, my dog is whining, wanting me to pet her. All right, so yeah, we've got two. There we go. I did the old green box select and then a shift click deselect. I want to region that circle. I'm going to extrude that circle. Okay, let's do that. And it's going to be a little sloppy because, I'm going to have a cylinder here. I'm going to have it overlapping another cylinder for a bit. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to do kind of the same thing and overlap that cylinder a little bit. But once I union them, they'll become one piece, if it will let me. And it should, because those will be touching. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it too. We're just playing with, we're uncharted territory here. So here we go. So we're going to extrude that shape. Yep. Go that way. Go 0.135. Enter. Got me again. I'm getting used to this. All right, let's choose that there. This time I am going to type 0.135, and hit enter, just because I was getting a little bit confused as to which arrow was going where. Look at that. We're sticking just a little past. That's good. That's half of the clearance that I want right there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another circle. Now you could do this as a cylinder too. It might actually be faster to go as a cylinder. I'm going to start it from the center of this on the face of this. So make sure that's blue. Stretch it out. I'm going to make it 0.75 as my radius, because that'll bring me all the way out to the edge, and I think that'll look good. So base radius 0.75. Excellent. And we said the amount we were going to extrude. So if we come up here, we should be able to see, if I'm looking at my coordinates at the bottom, if you see down here, it's giving me an idea how far I'm going, and it should be that 0.98. And it looks like that's where, we're going to end up pretty close to that 0.9, actually, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and type 0.98 anyway. Gives me just a small little gap. My point should be 0.01. And so now I need to create a circle in here. So that might be kind of difficult. What I did in the past is I created a new layer, and I moved these things to a new layer. We'll see if I can do that. I think actually what I'll do is start out here and draw it back in. So before I drew it off the previous cylinder I just had, and I'm not going to do that this time. So let's go here with my circle tool. And actually, I could just use my cylinder tool. Start it right there in the center. Bring it out to this edge. See how it's got quadrant right there? That brings me to the edge of my circle in a specific quadrant. I can click that. I could type in the radius as well, but I'm not going to do that. And we really don't need to be specific with this. It needs to go into here. And we're going to join it. Union it. I always say join. I think I must use another CAD program where join is the verb. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and select everything. I'm going to deselect the main yoke. I'm going to go to union. It didn't take, so I'm going to go back and select those and shift click there, enter. So now here I've got that one shape, just like that. There we go. Okay. That should work. Now what I think actually it won't do me any harm if I just union this whole thing. I think what that will do is sort of forgive my sin of creating a cylinder on top of a cylinder. I don't want to leave that alone. And look at that. That works. If we were getting into layers and things, like if you look at mine, I've got different colors. That's because I created things on different layers. And when you do that, like you can turn off a layer so it's a little more easy to see other shapes that you're drawing on. It gives you a little more control over those shapes. But because we're not getting into that just yet, we can go ahead and leave that alone. I think I'm confident with that. But having touched on layers a little bit, it's not bad practice to talk about it. Okay. So what I had on the other one was a cylinder that I created. I'm not sure if I really tried to get it in the center or not, but I just did a little lever sort of situation. Basically make this thing into some sort of a fidget that I might want to use. Well, I'm not going to. Well, actually, I do fidget a lot, so I shouldn't say I'm not going to use it. Well, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. So I think what I want to do is a little bit of math, because here I'm at 0, 0, right? And then over here, I'm at 1.125, comma 0. And then if I go way out here, I'm at should be 1.75. No. Yeah, 1.75. So that would be that's going to be 1.125, comma 1.75. So what I'm doing in my head is I'm trying to figure out the center of this. So actually, it might be easier than I'm making it. And let me get to a view that we can see here. Okay, so the very center is going to be out 1 inch, and it's going to be over. Let's see, it's going to be over 1.125. So if I go for the center of a cylinder and I start it at 1.125, let me write that down, 1.125, comma 1. That should put me smack dab in the center there. And I'm thinking I'll go with a radius of, we could go with a radius of, 0.375. Kind of made that number up, but I was considering the size of some other things in the shape to make sure things were going to work out okay. So here we go. Let's try this out and see if AutoCAD will be my friend today. It never wants to be, really. We're frenemies. Okay, 1.125 in my X will account for the wall, and then the inch, half the inch of that. Oh, I lied. I've already caught myself in a lie. Okay, I'm going to go 0.625 because I'm not going all the way down this inch. I'm going halfway plus all the thickness. So 0.625, not 625, 0.625. And I am going all the way out there. So that's just going to be a 1. Let's try. Oh, yeah, we're cooking with gas now. All right, so if I watch this ortho and I see I don't like that it's going away. So what I'm going to do is turn off my snapping here and just watch as it goes here. So I said I'd go 0.375 as my radius. It's actually kind of a bit bigger than I wanted. And since I don't need this to be anything in particular, let's go with that 0.25. I kind of like that. Okay, and all I'm doing right now is I'm just making this little bar. We could come up let's see. So if you go up 1.5, that's just going to get you to the top of your cylinder. So I'm actually going to go up, and then let's go another. You go another 1/4 inch, so 1.75, or I don't quite. I could just go 2. Let's just go 2. There we go. That will work. Okay. Then the only thing I don't like now is that we're here with this cylinder piece. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to try press pull. I think that will let me just go here and go up into the shape like so without cutting that shape. And then all I need to do is join this, union it. Get the vocabulary right, guy. What kind of teacher? Okay, so I've got that. You might choose to do some sort of a fillet. I know in the yoke we did do. I think we did a fillet. We did do some fillets on the outside. So I might have a 0.0625 radius and see what it looks like. That's gigantic. That does not look like that. Let's choose fillet radius 0.0625. That's because I didn't type radius first. That looks friendlier. And will it let me select both of these without choosing multi? Yes, it will. There we go. Now let's get crazy. Let's add that into there. You're saying Mockles, you madman. Okay. I mean, let's fill it till our hearts are content. We don't want to do anything with these guys or any of that on the inside there. But you could go crazy like that. Why not? Pick this top one. Why do we want a sharp edge? Who likes sharp edges on stuff like this? I'm just going to go with those. I'm going to choose to keep that. I like that. I think that's going to work out. Okay, so let's talk printing. We're going to go ahead and export this just like we would anything else. So let's go with it. I've had some luck selecting it first, then going to export, and then sometimes it makes me choose it anyway. I'm going to save this as hingejoint2.stl. I'll go ahead and save it to my desktop. Hey, the yoke is out there in my desktop still. Trip down memory lane. Okay. So now these fillets didn't really do anything. Maybe you do want to fillet this outside. That's up to you. I say that now. I might tell you something in person, change my mind. So basically this is going to, it should spin pretty easily for us. All right, now what I need to do, I can actually, I'm going to save this. I should have been saving as I went. I didn't. Awful save habits. So let's save now. Get the name I like, that's fine. All right, now let's go with, where'd you go? Hinge joint 2. We're going to open that up in Prusa Slicer. We pretty much designed it in the way, let's see, internal units. Do you want to recalculate the dimensions? Yeah, looks good. All right. No, I don't want to download. Got all kinds of crazy stuff going here. Variable layer height. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha, Prusa Slicer. All right, take a look at your model and make sure things look okay. Look like you can see how the visual, you know what I didn't do is facet res. Oh, now I got to go back and export again. I said I would do it at the beginning and I didn't. Facet res, let's go 10. All right, I'm going to close that out of Prusa Slicer because I'm going to save right over the top of that. Let's go here, export, other formats, back to my desktop, replace. All right, now let's go back out. Hinge joint 2. Go right ahead, Prusa Slicer. All right, all the craziness popping up again. Maybe I should update something. All right, so a couple of things I'm looking at. I want to see that gap there. I want to, you can try to see this this little bit of a gap. That might be easier to see after you slice it, just to make sure all your parts are where they need to be and they're actually connected. And we designed this in probably the best way to print it. I was thinking about, maybe printing it other ways, like with this on the bottom, and you could, and then this would be full of supports, and that might be better, but it might not. So I went with this. These really should give us plenty. We are going to put support, so it should fill in some under here, and we're going to see. This is kind of an experiment. I've not printed this one yet. So let's go here and see, is it going to allow us to put supports in there? So let's choose our printer, whatever. I guess I can stick with this. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go supports everywhere. Now that does mean we're going to have to be breaking them out of these little places, but because the object itself turns, it should be okay. All right, we're going to go supports everywhere. This is fine, but let's check some of our settings. Those are all good. Perimeters. Let's go with a third perimeter. And I just want to do that because we do have to break some parts loose. So we might have to grab onto this thing and give it quite a, jostling. So a third layer won't hurt anything. Infill, we could probably keep it 15%. I'm going to make it gyroid. Not for any reason other than I think it looks cool, but I do kind of think gyroid, it seems like it should be stronger. I have no research to back that up. I've looked it up at one point what the strongest one was. I can't remember these days. Okay, ironing, I don't need to worry about that. Ironing, all that does is just smooth your surfaces. You could turn it on if you want to. It's going to slow your print down, but it won't hurt anything. A brim, we could do an outer brim only. And then supports, we really want to make sure they are detachable, top and bottom, so 0.2 millimeters. If it doesn't fill in, let's see, let me just double check some other things. That looks good. Okay. If it doesn't fill in here, it probably will still print, but what it's going to do is sag a little bit and fill this in and probably will stick to there. And sort of the reason I added an outside perimeter to this is to help in the event that happens. We can get it to break loose. So that's kind of my thinking. So let's slice it. Let's see if it does put some, and it looks like it's just going to bridge them there. It just wants to bridge. So I don't know that I'm in love with that. One thing I might choose to do, you can go to paint on supports And I'm gonna, let's see, my brush size. Let's make real small. Can I fit it in there? Can I just give it a painting in there? And this looks like a 5-year-old painting, I know, but now it's not going to put supports on the outside, so it almost looks like I'm putting lipstick on this thing. All right, here we go. Get in there. That might help. I think before I do do I want to slice it? I'm here, so I'm just going to paint it on the other side. Even though you do this, sometimes it won't, do it exactly the way you want. So that's enforce supports. I actually probably want to, I want to enforce supports, because block supports means like do not put supports, not print supports that are a block. Let's try that. I don't know how magnificent that's going to be. It's worth a shot. Let's slice it. Nothing. But at least we tried, right? Okay, so we are going to have some issues here, and that's just the way it's going to be. But we've got supports underneath here. It's not good to print a cylinder shape on its side without supports. It just never works out the way we want. So let's send this thing. Let's see what happens. And we'll throw some caution to the wind. Now, some things that we can do if this doesn't work, it does defeat the purpose of print in place quite a bit, but you could go ahead and do a cut and just cut it, about right in the middle there. You could put some snap pieces, connectors in there, print this thing, snap it together, and it'll do the same thing. You could glue it if you wanted it to be sturdy, but it is sort of nice to be able to do 3D prints where you can just print stuff in place, but you do run into the limits of, what we're seeing here. So let's try it. So we're going to export, and we're going to slice, we're going to export, we're going to print it, and we're going to see if we can break these things loose and get them to have a little desk toy we can play with. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know I have.